All right, this one's for all the kids that keep telling their parents that they need to let them play their video games. Spending time playing video games is good for you. Let's talk about that. February 2016. Journal of Social Psychiatry and Psychiatric Epidemiology. The title of the article is time spent playing video games associated with mental health, cognitive, and social skills in young children? Question. There's been a new study published that explores the relationship between time spent playing video games and kids' mental health, cognitive skills, and social skills. This study came out last week, and the results of the study are sort of surprising. The conclusions that the authors have made was that playing video games may have positive effects on young children. These positive effects include increased intellectual functioning, higher overall school functioning, as well as lower peer relationship problems and fewer prosocial deficits. I've been taking a look at a few of the mass media articles in relation to this particular journal article after reading the article itself, and it's interesting to see some of the trends. Most of the time, of course, the title of the mass media article is going to sound a little something like this. It's going to be clickbaity, and it's going to look a little something like this. Kids that play more video games show better mental health and cognitive and social skills. I think this is a dangerous interpretation to make of the particular study at hand, and I'm going to talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things that I see that are coming from how people seem to be interpreting this study. The first thing that we have to do is take a look at some of the basics in terms of interpretation of research. Number one rule of reading research studies is understanding that correlation doesn't equal causation. When two things are positively correlated, that means that an increase in one of those things is associated with an increase in the other thing. A negative correlation means the exact opposite. An increase in one of those things is associated with a decrease in the other thing. Many studies that we use in social sciences are what we call correlative studies. In other words, we're looking at the correlation between two variables. This particular study that we're looking at in today's discussion is a correlative study. The results of the study indicate that there's a correlation between time playing video games and several other factors. These factors include things like gender. In other words, males play more games than females do. Size of the family. It appears that kids from what the authors have concluded to be medium-sized families play more video games than those from small or large families. Other factors that are correlated with video game time include age. So older kids play more than younger kids. The variables that the authors were actually taking a look at were school performance, intellectual functioning, and social skills functioning. And basically what they did is they had the parents and the teachers of the kids fill out a standardized survey that's often used in other research. And this standardized survey rates each of the kids on several of those scales and several of those items. The study found that all three of the things that we talked about a minute ago were correlated with time playing video games based upon the ratings of parents and teachers. One of the big problems with how the mass media is going to discuss this particular study is that oftentimes they're going to write it up as if there's a causative relationship between playing video games and mental health. And this is just not the case. You can't determine causation based on correlation. You can't say that time spent playing video games causes increases in mental health, intelligence, or academic performance. You can make a correlation. You can say that the kids that spent more time playing video games had better grades or had higher intelligence ratings. But you can't say that one causes the other. I think there's some other components of the study that also have to be discussed as well. I'm going to take a look at the positive sides of this study, as at least as I see them. I think the sample size used in the studies are really good sample size. They used almost 3,200 kids. That's a really good sample size for a study of this type. The questionnaires that the teachers and parents utilized for the ratings was also fairly standardized questionnaire that often gets used in similar types of studies. They controlled several other variables, including age, gender, parents' age, parents' marital status, education, employment status, and region. So all those other variables were pretty tightly controlled as far as I can tell. And it looks like, in general, the methodology used in the study was pretty good. Now for the things that we have to be careful about. Number one, this is what we call a preliminary study. In other words, this is sort of the first of its kind. In order to really get a good idea about how well these things are correlated, we need to replicate this study. Other researchers need to do the same thing, or these same researchers need to do similar studies in different environments or using different populations or in different places. Don't make sweeping generalizations when it comes to research studies, especially in the area of social science, based on a single study, no matter how well it was done. I think there are several things that have to be taken into consideration. The two biggest things are the age of the kids in the study and the location of the study. The kids in the study were ages 6 to 11. In my experience, this age group is way less likely to show negative effects from gaming than older peers. It's typically not until middle school or high school that gaming starts to really become problematic for many kids. I think if this study had taken into consideration some older kids, the results might be significantly different. The study was also done in Europe, and there's some pretty big cultural differences between how kids spend their free time in Europe versus how they spend their free time in the States. So therefore, if this study had been done in the U.S., I would hazard to guess that the results might have been fairly different. I'd be curious to know how the kids spent the remaining free time other than the time that they spent gaming. On the surface, the results of the study are pretty interesting, and I think it's something that requires some more investigation. But for the moment, let's turn this discussion around a little bit. If the title of this study was "Smarter Kids Spend More Time Playing Video Games," we probably wouldn't be surprised by that. We probably wouldn't bat an eye. But because the title of this study is often talked about in the mass media from the position of time spent playing video games equals smarter kids, healthier kids, then people become surprised and people start interpreting things differently. We have to be careful to avoid using language to support an agenda when discussing these types of studies. I guarantee that it's just as easy for anti-video game advocates to cite studies that demonstrate the exact opposite effect. Be very, very careful when it comes to using these types of research studies as support for a pro or con position regarding video gaming. I've said before, I think video gaming can be a really positive experience and can have some positive effects, but I think we have to be really careful when we say that if you want your kids to be more intelligent, if you want your kids to be healthier, that they should spend more time playing video games, because I don't know that that's necessarily the case here, and I don't know that this research study even indicates that that's the case. So there you have it. There's a quick little look at some research in regards to video gaming and mental health. I look forward to hearing your comments below. Please like or subscribe if you enjoy the content. Tell your friends. And I look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thanks a lot. This has been The Therapist Gamer. Bye-bye.